The 1970s arguably stand as the most innovative decade in the history of rock music, a time when boundaries were broken, genres collided, and timeless albums were born. While classics like Led Zeppelin IV, Dark Side of the Moon, and Born to Run dominate the conversation, many equally brilliant records have been left to gather dust in the corners of music history. These lesser-known masterpieces span the full spectrum of 70s creativity, from progressive rock, cerebral adventures, to raw, unfiltered hard rock and poetic folk storytelling. Far from being forgotten footnotes, these albums deserve a rightful place in the canon, offering a richer, fuller picture of one of rock's most transformative eras. Traffic. The Low Spark of High-Heeled Boys, 1971. Traffic's The Low Spark of High-Heeled Boys isn't just one of the band's finest records. It's a trailblazing album that embodied the restless creativity of the early 70s. Mixing jazz, rock, funk, and psychedelia, the record captures a band reaching peak synergy. The title track, a sprawling 12-minute journey, pulses with a hypnotic groove that slowly builds into a dynamic, genre-defying masterpiece. Steve Winwood's role as frontman and multi-instrumentalist shines, whether he's delivering smoky vocals, inventive keyboard layers, or unexpected guitar lines. Jim Capaldi and Rick Gretsch hold down the rhythm with ease, allowing room for extended improvisations without sacrificing cohesion. Chris Wood's flute and saxophone textures lend a jazz sophistication that never feels forced. The production, expansive yet detailed, lets each instrument breathe in a spacious mix that enhances both the intimacy and grandeur. Low Spark is a rare fusion album that doesn't feel dated. It feels daring even now, and proves that experimentation can also be deeply musical. The Moody Blues, Every Good Boy Deserves Favour, 1971. Though the Moody Blues had already earned commercial acclaim with their early symphonic concept albums, Every Good Boy Deserves Favour stands as a refined artistic summit, one that's strangely underappreciated compared to Days of Future Past. The album achieves a near-perfect blend of the band's orchestral inclinations with punchier, more direct rock elements. The opening track, The Story in Your Eyes, is a masterclass in combining catchy melodies with lush arrangements. Meanwhile, Emily's Song offers an intimate portrait of fatherhood, carried by Justin Hayward's emotive guitar work and heartfelt vocals. The themes explored, spiritual longing, human connection, philosophical inquiry, feel strikingly relevant, not dated. Producer Tony Clark's meticulous approach captures every textural layer, from Mike Pinder's ethereal mellotron to the subtle pulse of John Lodge's bass. Rather than a relic of the past, Every Good Boy Deserves Favour remains one of progressive rock's most emotionally accessible and musically rich statements. Gentle Giant, Octopus, 1972. Among the most technically complex yet musically rewarding progressive rock bands, Gentle Giant hit their creative stride with Octopus, a dense, dazzling record that manages to be both cerebral and inviting. What sets this album apart is the band's ability to weave medieval and Renaissance influences into a modern rock framework without sounding gimmicky. The advent of Panurge is a rhythmic maze of shifting time signatures and playful vocals, while Raconteur Troubadour showcases their virtuosic command of harmony and melody. The Shulman brothers contribute an arsenal of instruments, from violin to sax to recorders, each one integrated seamlessly. Kerry Minier's layered keyboards blend church organ textures with sharp synth leads, while the rhythm section keeps pace through metric acrobatics. Every track feels like a finely tuned machine, where complexity never gets in the way of feeling. The production allows the multi-layered arrangements to remain clear, never cluttered. Octopus is a progressive rock landmark, a challenging yet deeply satisfying listen for those willing to embrace its intricacies. Conclusion. Humble Pie, performance, Rockin' the Fillmore, 1971. After fronting the Small Faces, Steve Marriott poured his soul into Humble Pie, a band that delivered some of the most electrifying live performances of the era. Their live album performance, Rockin' the Fillmore, captures that explosive essence, but remains unfairly tucked away in rock's second shelf. Recorded during their US tour, the album is a raw, visceral document of a band in full command of its powers. Marriott's voice, gravelly, soulful, and fiercely expressive, cuts through extended jams like I Don't Need No Doctor and Stone Cold Fever. The interplay between Marriott's riff-driven rhythm work and Peter Frampton's fiery lead guitar creates a tension and chemistry rarely matched in the studio. Greg Ridley on bass and Jerry Shirley on drums hold everything down with grit and groove. The 22-minute version of I Don't Need No Doctor builds with the kind of tension and release that prefigures hard rock's evolution into metal. As live albums go, Rockin' the Fillmore is a ferocious display of musicianship and energy that belongs alongside the greats. Wishbone Ash, Argus, 1972. A true cult classic, Argus by Wishbone Ash blends elements of progressive rock, classic British hard rock, and proto-metal, all tied together by the band's signature twin-lead guitar harmonies. Loosely themed around ancient battles and mythology, the album never lets concept overshadow emotion. Time Was. The opening track begins with delicate acoustic textures before morphing into a hard-hitting anthem, establishing the band's range and control. The King Will Come stands out as a thunderous and anthemic epic, where Andy Powell and Ted Turner's harmonized guitars carve out majestic soundscapes. Martin Turner's melodic bass lines and Steve Upton's crisp drumming ground the band's exploratory sound in groove and precision. The album's production feels both warm and alive, not over-polished, but beautifully organic. Despite its critical praise and lasting influence on bands like Iron Maiden and Thin Lizzy, Argus remains a hidden pillar of early 70s rock excellence that still sounds fresh decades later. These 5 hidden gems aren't just forgotten albums, they're vibrant, inventive works that capture the full scope of what the 1970s had to offer. Whether it's the Moody Blues' orchestral elegance, Humble Pie's blistering live fury, Wishbone Ash's soaring guitar harmonies, Traffic's fearless genre fusion, or Gentle Giant's baroque brilliance, each of these records stands as a testament to a time when rock music was still evolving, expanding, and experimenting. Their continued obscurity speaks not to a lack of quality, but to the overwhelming abundance of brilliance that defined the decade. For listeners hungry to explore the deep cuts beyond the radio staples, these albums aren't just recommendations, they're revelations. They remind us that the true legacy of 70s rock isn't found only in the hits, but in the daring, the overlooked, and the unafraid.